What is up, everybody? Welcome to AK Plays. I'm AK. Let's play. Alright everybody, today I'm going to be showing you guys an awesome shotgun build. And yes, I did just put one out recently. However, this one is an improved version that I've been having a lot of fun with. Now, the other one is still great. I really love it and I love to use it in the dark zone. However, it relies a lot on critical hits. And in conflict, critical hits are not very helpful. So, I chose to do this version that relies a lot more on weapon damage. And I've been having great success with it, and so I wanted to share it as quick as possible. Which means there are a couple things that I will change, and I will make sure to tell you what I would still change on this build. But without further ado, let's jump into it. So, first thing is it is a survivalist specialization to give us shotgun damage, and of course the armor kits that heal over time are great for pushing with a shotgun. Downside is you have to use the crossbow if you're going to pull out your specialist weapon. Now, primary weapon is a double barrel shotgun, and that has, as you can see, normalized stats. Everything is going to have normalized stats in this build because, as I said, it is geared towards conflict, which is a normalized game mode. This double barrel has talents of premeditated, jazz hands, stop, drop, and roll. Premeditated is going to be the big one on this because it gives you huge damage bonus just for having your full reload. Now, if you aren't comfortable with the double barrel, because I know a lot of people aren't, if you want something that has more ammo, a little more forgiving to use, I will talk to you at the end before the gameplay. I will give you like a little quick 2-3 changes you can make to the build that would allow you to use other shotguns. But on to the next weapon, which is an M700 Carbon, and that uses the talents Ranger, Jazz Hands, and Protected Reload. Protected Reload is the very important one. I use a sniper so I can engage at long range if I need to. On to our last one, we have a pistol. I have Finisher. You could probably just use another double barrel just in case you want to have more shotgun damage at the ready. I don't proc this one all that often, so we'll move on to the brands. Now the brand sets here, ignore mine. Mine are all screwed up. You want to have 2 pieces of China Light Industries, and you want to have 3 pieces of Providence. Then you want to have 1 piece of either Murakami, Gilligard, or maybe I have Fenris because, not because it helps you out in its brand itself, but because for me, Fenris drops with a lot of double talents, where I get more than 1 talent down here, where you'd see Berserk. It might have Berserk and something else, and that might just be my luck, but we definitely want to try to get double talents if we can, because of course, that's more bonuses. Now moving on to the gear itself. On my mask, I have China Light Industries, as I said, with explosive damage and, more importantly, shotgun damage. Attributes, you would want to probably just have a blue attribute here, health, something like that. The utility attributes, we'll talk about at the end why you could have those or don't want to. On my version of the build, you probably don't need utility rolls. Then we have Empowered. That is definitely not the one you want there. I would say that you probably want to have Spotter. Spotter gives you damage to pulse targets, which is pretty rare to have a pulse on your team, but if you do, you will definitely benefit. Then onto the chest piece, we have bonus armor, weapon damage, and skill power. The important one is weapon damage. You can't have very many red rolls or offensive rolls on this build, and so you want to capitalize. And the 2 places that we get weapon damage are on the chest and the backpack. So if you can get as few rolls on your chest as possible, that will up your weapon damage roll that you get here. So it would be nice to just see maybe a bonus armor or health and weapon damage. That would be really nice. For talents, you have Berserk, and if you have a second talent that you can get here, you would probably want Vital. Then as for mods, you're going to want your defensive mods, health, armor, armor on kill, or if you can get those, I think they're called generic mods, those would be nice to have for more damage and things like that. I haven't gotten my hands on enough of those to really use them effectively. Then onto the holster. Ignore Arialdi, you don't want Arialdi here. But for attributes, you probably want a blue attribute of some kind. And then for your talent, you want Devastating. That's the most important part about the holster, is the talent to be Devastating. 5% weapon damage is very devastating. Alright, then onto the knees. We have China Light Industries. And attribute, you probably want something blue there, as I said, but you definitely could have a utility roll if you'd like. As for talents, there really isn't anything hugely good on the knees, but if I had to suggest one, I would say Braced, just because it gives you a little bit more weapon ability to handle your weapons, some accuracy, stability, things like that. Onto the gloves. Ignore Alp Summit. You definitely don't want Alp Summit, but you do want these other two rolls, which are the attribute to be only shotgun damage. It gives you a great amount of shotgun damage, and it's hugely helpful. As for your talent, you want Compensated. Compensated gives you 15% weapon damage just by having 3 or less of those offensive rolls, and have low critical hit chance, which we do on this build. And that is awesome. That is definitely one of the big parts of this build, is to have Compensated. For the backpack, we have Providence, and like I said, you want 3-piece Providence so you can get that 5% weapon damage. That would help you a ton. It would make this build hit even harder. As for the attributes, like I said, you want weapon damage here, and you want to have as few rolls as possible to up that weapon damage. As you can see, mine is unfortunately a very low roll. But as for talents, we have Safeguard, and I would say you want Vital there instead of Hardened, but Hardened is still very strong. And it definitely gives you a lot of armor. Now, we're going to talk about some of the changes, because that's the build. And then as for skills, before I talk about changes, I'll talk about skills. Skills, I have a Booster Hive and a Defender Drone. Defender Drone is kind of standard issue, so I would say that that's why we have that. Booster Hive, I've just been liking moving quickly and moving on the fly while I reload, and then shooting people. It really works well in conflict. However, this does not maximize the build. To maximize the build, you would want either the Restorer Hive or the Reinforcer Chem Launcher, because those heals will work out with your Safeguard to give you a giant heal when you need it. And if you're comfortable with that and you like running like that, that is the correct way to run this build. I, however, have been really reckless and have been running with a Booster Hive because I've just wanted to move quickly. It's not the correct move, but it's the fun move for me. But that is really what you can do, and you can mix and match the skills to really whatever you feel like. They are not hugely important to this build. Now to talk about changes you can make. So a couple of changes, you can make one of two. One of them is, as you see, Premeditated requires 4 or less utility rolls. And then if you look at On the Ropes, it requires 7 or more. Because initially I wanted to try to make a shotgun build that utilized On the Ropes. However, this one can't. So my suggestion is, if you want to use a shotgun other than the double barrel, then you could run 2 shotguns that don't have that are not double barrels, and you could run On the Ropes and get rid of Premeditated, and then you can switch your holster. Instead of having Devastating, you're going to want a talent called Bloodlust. Bloodlust allows you to have more weapon damage when you switch weapons. So what would happen is you'd get 25% damage from On the Ropes, and if you switch weapons instead of reloading, you wouldn't need Premeditated, you could run something else, and then you could switch weapons to get more weapon damage, and continue to switch and then reload after you've exhausted your ammo. That is one way you could get away with having a different shotgun, and still get a bunch of crazy extra damage. The only thing is you'd miss out on that 50% from Premeditated, which is kind of a huge loss, but hopefully the percentages from these two would make up for it. But that's just a way that you could run this with a different shotgun, or you could use the double barrels if you just haven't gotten a Premeditated roll yet. I think that's going to be a harder way to run it, but it definitely will hit hard, and it'll be a lot of fun. But I hope you guys enjoyed the build. We're going to get into some gameplay here, but if you have any questions, let me know in the comments, and I will catch you guys tomorrow. God, that drone is so annoying. Like, it doesn't actually hurt, but it is real annoying. Now we have another shotgunner on our team.
Does it go to the right?
Okay. Wow, you went for the finish too.
Yeah.
You just got some bad luck.
Jesus.
Okay, I'm assuming they're gonna spawn here. Ooh!
Alright, chums up.
Ready, guys?
Let's do this. Leroy Jenkins!
Oh my god, he just ran in.
A few moments later.
Do not bully people.